along here at the old Power Mods headquarters. The super duper Elan build. Still don't know what we're gonna call it yet. The Megatronic Transformer Elan, we don't know. Right now we're gonna whip that axle shaft out. We're gonna press on these drivers by Avid products. Robbie sent us these. They're a 6-tooth driver, 3-inch pitch for that really cool track we have. Let me show you that. So this is the track that's going on it. This was a 15-inch wide track. It's got a 3.2-inch lug on it, which is pretty insane. It was 15 inches wide. We trimmed it down to 13.5 inches for this awesome build here, because the tunnel that already comes on this is 13.5. Well, it runs a 13.5-inch track. And it's nice. It's going to give us that dirt bike feel. It's going to be a lot of fun. But have you ever seen something so long? That's a long track. And those are the drivers that go into it. Perfectly round driver. You're not going to get that bump, bump, bump kind of noise when you're, should be going over there, when you're riding it. We'll have to line those up just perfectly. And that's the mission for right now. Get that shaft out, pretty easy to do. The tunnel came like this, and let's get on it. I am going to go through after the show here. We have to have this ready for the Toronto show, right? We got to show everybody the inner workings of my brain. And this is kind of it. Does that hold that together? Oh no, that's just a bearing retainer. I see. I see. I'm keeping all my parts in a box. You guys saw it. That way, I'm not going to forget where everything is. Oh, there's that bearing. That came right out. That's what I wanted. I'm going to replace all those bearings. Make sure everything's nice and new when they're built. Nice and new and not giving us any issues. Get out of there. Get out of there. Hello! I'm just going to drop that on the floor. It's an Arctic cat. They can take it. Right? It's okay, I got it, Jamie. No, don't help me. I got it. Oh my God. Hey? I'm just making good video. I know. Attaboy. Hey, Jamie, never drop the camera. No matter what happens, never turn that camera off. Don't go looking for you. Nope. Never go looking for me. I'll always be back. The bearing's done on that. That's okay. But that's a big shaft. Look at the size of the shaft on that, lads. Oh, that's a big shaft. 1.25 inches. That's how big that is. So Robbie at Avid Products, he milled that out. Perfect size. Just need to be pressed on. I want to see something here. Now this is tricky when you're doing this, when you're installing these drivers on these axle shafts. You got to make sure that it's exactly in the right place, or it's just not going to work out, man. Not going to fit. Let's see how that rides in there. So you can see these extroverts on here. They go through the holes, and these involutes, or whatever they call them, that's the inner part of that, hooks inside these little things here. And there's not much movement in between there. I just want to see what we're dealing with here. Okay. So it's pretty much going to go right in the same place. Yep. I could mark this shaft right here. I could score that. I could score it back here. I could score it there. Press these off. But the dimensions of this driver from Robbie, they're different, right? So the insides or whatever, the outsides of this it's supposed to go in that shaft, or in a completely different place. So I need to measure from the ends into exactly where these extroverts are. Easy peasy. I don't know how other guys do this. Maybe they've got a whole other different procedure, but this is how I do it. Get one of those, will that work out so it's at the top? Here, cursing it. So 6 1/8. 6 1/8 from this side. I don't know if you saw this or not. That's a trophy. Believe it or not, they're not like the trophies of the old days. This is how new trophies are made, apparently. It's a number 2. That's the equivalent of a silver medal at the Olympics. That's from Terracross. Gotta love it. And I hope you guys watch that on CBS Sports because we have more footage on there as well. An old Louis with the Caliber race car. We got a lot of footage, a lot of time on it. Pretty fun.
And number 2 is really number 1.
Number 2 is number 1.
Because it was up against Hubert, who was going to make those surgeries.
All those guys.
Yeah.
All those guys. And this one, to the outside, is 2 3/4. Just want to measure that up again, make sure. Didn't like that wall. Didn't like that wall. 2 3/4. I can make that work. Okay, and this is 2 3/4 bearing side. And this is, yeah. Oh, look at this. Yeah, look at this. Check out the splines on that. They are bent. That's okay. You see that? You can just see them, just a little bit. Let me see. See, it's twisted right where the sprocket meets, right there. That's from landing with the throttle on, like all the racers do. It's all good. I don't think it's made that way. Pretty sure it's not made that way. I'll use this shaft. When I bought this chassis, the guy was cleaning out a lot of stuff. Nick, good friend Nick, he sells us a lot of parts, thankfully. He was cleaning out a lot of stuff, and I bought the chassis, and a whole bunch of extra parts and pieces came with it. I've got to get this bearing off. I'm just going to use this puller. See if we can't get it off. Out of here. Jamie just said, "What are those off of?" Those are the brake pads and the brake calipers for an Articat. No, I'm just kidding. These are off my skidder, my old Clark skidder. I've got to fix those up. They're pretty big. I'm going to keep saying things about Articat. You know me. But it's all fun. I love every snowmobile. A lot of guys they say, you know, you don't have this or that. Some are better than others. And no, man. Sleds are all great. You should come off, you. There you go. The old tie rod puller with, ooh. The old tie rod puller with the socket trick. Does it every time. Now when you put this back on, don't forget to put that in. Okay, remind me. I do that every time. There, now we can get to pressing these off of steel tube. Goes over that. pushing on this part, you don't want to push, you know, sometimes, I could have laid this out over top of that and pushed on the sides of these drivers. That's not really good. It ruins the drivers and it makes things kind of squirrely. The whole thing can blow apart. When you're pressing anything apart, you do want to wear your safety glasses. I omit to wear safety glasses a lot of the time, but when I'm dealing with a press, I usually do, pretty much all the time. Because they are dangerous. This is a 20-ton press, not a whole lot, but boy, it can really mess you up. And I have had presses, shafts hit me in the chest, and I'm sure there are a lot of guys out there with eye patches and the like.
Well, this one's set up, it's not going to get you in the chest.
Well, yeah, you can see what happened right here. I don't know. See, I got the soul patch going on, and that's for a reason. Because Simon dropped a ball peen hammer on my face. Actually, no, it was a carpenter's tee. But by the time we're done this whole build, it'll be a 10-pound sledge, I'm pretty sure. All right, let's get this shaft out of here. Get on my face, shaft. Stupid shaft. WD-40 on the shaft. Lube is your friend. Lube it. I'm pushing 2 of these off at once, so it's going to be lots of craziness. It is moving. I can feel it. Okay, so here, this is where we're at. I really buggered this up. You can look at that. You know, I guess I could have made this whole thing look really pretty and edited it out on camera so that it looked like we're rock stars, but I just wanted to sort of tell everybody what happened. I was pressing it out, and then I was trying to press out these 2 at once, and it wasn't given. I've done it before with a lot of other drivers. I've done it with Polaris that have 4 drivers on them, but these buggers, too much surface area maybe, and you know, surface area around here wasn't moving. So I decided to heat up these collars a little bit, and as soon as I did that, I started pushing, and my little tube here just squeezed right up in between there. So I made a real mess. Okay. But I think I have a plan. I had one before too. But this time I have a better plan. I do.
Sawzall?
No, I'm not going to use a Sawzall. I'm just going to clean up that plastic there so I can get a bit of a bite on it. Oh my God. Everybody. If I'd had one of these tubes that was the size of this collar, it would have been perfect, but I was pressing on the plastic itself, and that just wasn't going to work. Oh my God, you ruined the Articat drivers. It's okay, I got another set. Remember? Remember? What a mess. It happens. I make mistakes. I'm just a dude who works many, many hours a day. I was up yesterday at 4:30 in the morning, and we were out hunting, and then we got back at 10. And then up again early this morning. No rest for the wicked. That's okay, you're coming off. Now she's coming. I added heat to it. Stupid old drivers. Skibo, you're a nightmare. You're a hack. Of course I am. But we're getting her done. Getting her done real good. You should never pile 2 things on top of each other too when you're doing this. All crooked. I'd like to get one of those big presses behind that bulletproof glass that the guys use, and they crush things with it. There. There. They're still good. Now I got to press that off. Yeah. Now. See the new hoodies, boys? New hoodies, nice and warm. Got more coming, more ideas. Got some pretty cool ideas coming up for hoodies and sweatshirts. We're gonna be at the Toronto show next week, and we're gonna have a ton of stuff there to sell too. A lot of people want it, so we gotta give them what you want, right? We got one chance at this, unlike the other one where we had a bunch of chances, but we could ruin them. This one we can't ruin. So we're gonna press on this first Avid driver, and we gotta make sure you don't wanna do one of these, because then it'll end up like that. You don't want that. It's gotta be like this. We've gotta go from this side of the driver, or this side of the shaft. We're gonna push it on, my little spacer. Robbie can make this is a total custom driver. He can make a driver, any pitch, any size, for your needs. He's been pretty good for helping us out as well. Big shout out to Robbie at Avid Products, because he knows what he's doing. Especially if you're racing sleds, you want to have a really nice, perfectly round machined driver. Looks like it's going to go on straight. That's a problem with this kind of press, you know, you're kind of limited as to your setup. Now I need to pull this out. Let that shaft go through the bottom. I'll show you what's happening. The shaft bottomed out on there. We just turn our blocks around. You can see this. Turn the blocks. You see that, Jamie? Bigger hole right there. A little bit of room on there. Allows that shaft to press right out, right through the middle. Right there. I'm just gonna put a little scribe mark here on this shaft where I want that. I'm gonna put this down here. 6 1/8. I can press that right up to that mark. And just when I get close to it, I'll take it off and measure it again. Because you know me, boys, I got one weird eye. They both look forward, but it's a little off as far as measuring stuff goes. There's no wing in this. You want that track to be right in the center. Beauty, 6 1/4. One more times. Nailed it. Have you guys seen how clean it is in here? Look at this. You know? Pretty crazy, right? Doesn't that look good? Did that on purpose. Cleaning things up, getting ready for the season. Lots of cool things coming up. 1, 2 3/4. I'm just gonna measure this right now. And when I did it, these tapes, I read somewhere why they do that. I can't remember, but every tape measure has movement in there. I'm sure somebody's going to chime in and tell me why. But just just remember that when you're pulling on something, it's one length, and when you're pushing against something, like I was pushing against the wall, there's this about a 1/16 of an inch difference there, right? So I'm just going to push that tight. Mark that at 2 3/4. Right from here. in here. I just have to remember, that's where the line is going to pop out. Doesn't matter with this one, but with a lot of drivers, when you're installing them, you got to make sure that they're aligned properly. If you don't, they'll be crooked, and you put your track on and it's not going to be where it should. But this is a 6-tooth extrovert driver. That's a 6-sided shaft. They should all line up no matter what we do. But you know what? He even puts alignment marks on it. So we're going to do that. We're going to line those up. Right there. Jamie came up with a good idea, and I don't know why he didn't think of it earlier. I should have just taken the 2 3/4, added this driver, the width or the thickness of this driver, and measured all the way up here so I could have seen where the line was. We could have come up to it perfectly. Oh well. You guys get to learn from my mistakes. And that's 2 today so far. We've got a full day ahead of us. There'll be lots more. Don't worry about it. I want that driver to be in a little tighter. There. That's gonna do it. That's where I want it. Right there. Still touching the clips. Perfect positioning. So I'm just using this old bearing, putting it back on. Don't do that if you're building a sled or if you're in there doing some work. Just spend the extra money, put a new one on, and then you're laughing. Because trust me, if you don't do it, something's gonna break on it, and that bearing's gonna go. And when you're inside and you've got an axle shaft out, man, you don't want to have to go in there again. It's just a real pain in the butt. There, that's that. But I am just sort of setting this up, seeing where everything fits, making a big list of parts to get from Articat, and that'll be that. But I wouldn't reuse it. It's not how I roll, believe it or not. So that wraps up the Avid Products driver install for the monster Elan here. And the reason we went with this type of driver, number one, it's a custom-made driver. We can't find anything with a 6-tooth, 3-inch pitch out there on the market. So Robbie at Avid Products, of course, he can make this. He makes all kinds of different sizes for anything you can think of. The reason we needed it so small was because we need to fit that big 3.5 or 3.25-inch lug track in that tunnel. And that is the original size driver that goes on there, and this is the one that we're putting on, right? Now, a few things are going to happen. Number one, we're really gearing that sled down. It's going to slow us down, going to give us a lot of torque, but our top speed is going to be really down. So we're going to make some adjustments in the chain case. I just wanted to show you how I install those drivers. You know, it's funny. I didn't do a very good job of it, but I only do this maybe once a year, and I keep learning every time. So I got to thank you guys for coming back as usual. I'm going to install this in there, and then we're going to get that track in, we're going to get the suspension in, and then we're going to put the front end on. It's going to be a lot of fun. Keep coming back. Okay, let's do this. Get sassy with me. Don't you get sassy with me.